What's good, EYTBC? What's good, fight fans, boxing heads around the world? B March with another boxing video. So we gonna take it back in the day, man, for a fight we didn't get to see as boxing fans. You know what I mean? And this is we're gonna take y'all back to 1990, let's say late 1998 to early '99. You know what I mean? Um, and this fight we didn't get to see, we got deprived of as boxing fans would be Mark Two Shop Johnson from Washington D.C. versus the one and only Vida Loca, Johnny Tapia from Albuquerque, New Mexico. You check it. So at this particular time, Johnny Tapia is he's a unified champion. Actually, he's a unified champion at 115 pounds at super flyweight. You know what I'm saying? And Mark Two Shop Johnson is a champion at flyweight. He has the IBF strap at flyweight, and Johnny Tapia is the unified champ. He just came off a unification with he got the IBF belt when he beat Danny Romero. His longtime rival from Albuquerque, New Mexico. A fight they had. They had that fight with Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero in Las Vegas because they couldn't have it in Albuquerque, New Mexico due to due to gang affiliations. It was a lot of gang violence out there in New Mexico, and they didn't want to have these two fighting in New Mexico because it would inflict and cause a lot of gang violence. You know what I'm saying? So so then this man Johnny Tapia is a unified champion, got the IBF and the WBO belt. Okay, now coincidentally, and the man, so conveniently, the man Johnny Tapia, he moved up a weight. He moved up to bantamweight, and he dropped his vacant belt when what's his name? When Mark Two Shop Johnson moved up in weight. You know what I'm saying? Mark Two Shop Johnson moved up to super flyweight. You know what I'm saying? And that's how Mark Two Shop Johnson became a super flyweight champion, became a two-time champion in two divisions when he fought for the vacant belt that Johnny Tapia had left behind. You know what I mean? The man Mark Two Shop Johnson, he fought what's that? It's a guy from Thailand. Singapore, somebody. I forgot his name. It's a real long name, man. I remember the fight vividly. It was a fight at the back when it was called the MCI Center. It was in Washington D.C. And it was the man Mark Two Shop Johnson was a guy from D.C., but he was a guy who his career he was promoted by some guys out in L.A. the Forum Boxing. You know what I mean? And most of his fights, his early in his career, he'd fight out there in the Forum in L.A. in Inglewood where the Lakers used to play. You know what I'm saying? And, he was known for fighting Mexicans. And really, he was really known for showcasing his style and his slickness against these Mexicans out there in California. And basically, taking them to school with his slick style he brought from Washington, D.C. Okay? Now, this a fight, like I said, we didn't get to see, man, because Johnny Tapia moved up in weight. There was always 3 pounds or 4 pounds, basically, that separated these guys by division-wise, you know what I'm saying? And to me, that's nothing for him to make the fight happen, you know what I mean? You check it, I think that should be in 3 to 4 pounds. I know they could have met somehow, some way, And Johnny Tapia ain't the type of guy who seemed to be ducking, but really and truly, how many slick fighters like Mark Johnson did the man Johnny Tapia fight? And I was a fan of Johnny Tapia. Believe me, man, this guy has showed integrity, heart. He was all of the above, man. He had modest punching power, but he one thing for sure, two things for certain. He would always come and fight, man. He wasn't afraid of nobody. I used to love him in the corner. What would he say? He'd say stuff like, "Albuquerque, I love you." You know what I'm saying? Mi Vida Loca was that dude, man. But so was Mark Two Shop Johnson, man. His skills were impeccable. He was like a Pernell Whitaker maybe with even harder punching power than Pernell, in the lower weights, And to me, I say, Mark Too Sharp Johnson is the greatest flyweight or super flyweight probably in American history. And at that, he's an African American. This is a division mostly dominated, and the participants of these divisions are usually guys from the Far East. Japan, Philippines, Thailand, and Mexicans. Guys from Mexico. It's really a division for the small guys. You know what I mean? Really and truly, African American guys. They really big guys in any sport, whether it's football, basketball, even heavyweight boxing. You don't really see no guys from Thailand or Japan or even Mexicans really in the heavyweight division. So yeah, this a fight, like I said, should have happened around late 98, early 99. It should have been for when Mark Too Sharp Johnson moved up. He's fighting Johnny Tapia for that IBF super flyweight strap, you know what I'm saying? And this particular fight, I would probably favor Mark Too Sharp Johnson simply off the fact Too Sharp Johnson's defense was impeccable. He was definitely a harder puncher than Johnny Tapia. Johnny Tapia was a guy who mostly won fights. He had a high work rate, man. He had a devastating left hook to the body. That's one thing. That was probably his bread and butter, you know what I'm saying? Come up top with the left hook and then go down bottom with the double left hook. Right to the pancreas, right there to, a kidney shot. You know what I'm saying? And then at the time, Johnny Tapia was undefeated at flyweight. The man Johnny Tapia was like 42-0, at flyweight before he moved up to super flyweight. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, when he was at super flyweight, between flyweight and super flyweight, before he moved up to bantamweight, the man Johnny Tapia was undefeated. You know what I'm saying? So, this is a fight we didn't get to see, and I think the man Johnny Tapia basically I think Johnny Tapia would be trying to press the action, but the man Mark Too Sharp Johnson, I think, would be too slick for him. He'd be he'd be parrying his shots, you know what I'm saying? He'd be slipping and slipping punches, you know what I mean? And he would basically be counter punching, because Mark Too Sharp Johnson, I think that was his bread and butter, and his best punches was his counter punching skills, you know what I mean? And I just think Mark Too Sharp Johnson would have been too slick for Johnny Tapia. Like I said, how many slick African American fighters did Johnny Tapia fight, even in their prime? One guy that they did fight was what's his name? The guy Arthur Johnson. Arthur Johnson was the guy Johnny Tapia fought, and basically won a controversial decision that could have gone either way. Some people had Arthur Johnson winning that fight. You know what I'm saying? Johnny Tapia won the fight with a majority decision. But, some people had Arthur Johnson winning that fight, you know what I mean? I basically had it a close fight. I was a Johnny Tapia fan, so, maybe back when I was younger, I was a little biased. But, the man Mark, what's his name? Arthur Johnson he could have made a case for winning that fight, But, a few years later, Arthur Johnson stepped into the ring to challenge another champion, and that was Mark Too Sharp Johnson. And Mark Too Sharp Johnson got him out of there quick, man, in emphatic fashion. He got him out of there in the first round, knocked him out, you know what I'm saying, with some beautiful punches. I believe it was a left hook or maybe right, but he floored the guy, you know what I mean? And the fight was in D.C., and I remember he talked about Johnny Tapia at the post-fight interview. He wanted Johnny Tapia, you know what I'm saying? But Johnny Tapia never seemed to really want that fight with Mark Too Sharp Johnson, you know what I'm saying? And I think Mark Too Sharp Johnson was too slick for him. Not too many people wanted to fight Too Sharp Johnson. And Too Sharp Johnson, he had a lot of opponents out there, in the Far East, but he was a guy who's vowed to never leave the United States and go anywhere overseas unless he gets a handsome purse. He gets paid really well, you know what I'm saying? And I don't blame him. That mentality of his came when, he basically lost his second fight in his career. He got robbed out in England, you know what I mean? Mark Too Sharp Johnson's second fight of his career. was in the UK, and he got robbed. You know, and it was a 4-rounder, but you know that the guy he should have he should have got the victory. And you know, Mark Too Sharp Johnson is also the youngest member to ever to be elected into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota, New York. You know, he got in there on his first try, first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? At 40 years old, he was in there. You check it, and you know, Mark Too Sharp Johnson, you know, he challenged himself. You know, he went up and fought bigger guys at bantamweight, guys like Rafael Marquez. You know, but he got beat by Marquez, who was a bigger guy. You know what I'm saying? No shame in Too Sharp Johnson's game. He challenged himself. He got beat. He came back down to super flyweight, and he beat the man. What's his name? He took, what's his name's first O? He beat Fernando Montiel, gave him his first O, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think, and you know, the man, what's his name? Johnny Tapia, he went up to, you know, he was there at bantamweight, you know, he got a couple losses. You know, I thought he beat the man, Paulie Ayala. You know, Paulie Ayala always used to get those decisions that he ain't deserve, you know what I'm saying? I thought Johnny Tapia beat him twice, actually, you know? But yeah, if I had to pick who would win this fight based on skill set, man, I think the man, what's his name, was far beyond his skill level. Mark Too Sharp Johnson was a much better fighter than Johnny Tapia. Johnny Tapia was definitely a crowd pleaser. You know, he was an entertaining guy. He was a guy who showed heart and grit, you know, but he wasn't quite the heavy puncher, you know what I'm saying? And I could probably see even Mark Too Sharp Johnson stopping him. If it doesn't go 12, I could see him probably stopping Too Sharp Johnny Tapia on his feet, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I think Johnny Tapia, Mark Too Sharp Johnson would be, you know, he'd be counter-punching him to death. You know, he'd be slick on the defense. You know, he'd basically have the better footwork, moving laterally. And, you know, Mark Too Sharp Johnson was a phenom, in my opinion. And like I said, probably the greatest flyweight in American history, you know. And one of the greatest of all time, you know what I'm saying? So let me know what you guys think and who you guys would think would have won this fight back in late 98, early 99 for the at super flyweight, you know, at 115 pounds for the IBF strap that Johnny Tapia left behind because he ain't want to face Mark Too Sharp Johnson. All right, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Let me know who you think's going to win below. And I'm going with Mark Too Sharp Johnson by either a unanimous decision, maybe a split decision, or a TKO. You know what I'm saying? Decision or TKO for Too Sharp Johnson. Alright, if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up and please subscribe. B Marsh Boxing. Thanks for listening. 1.